Oh boy, here we go. Bracket Neutron is a YouTuber who decided to make a whole ass video on me. Oh, not exactly on me, but on Blocky, but it sure as hell mentions me a fuck ton.
So, let's get right into the video!
Oh.
Disclaimer. Even though I may sound harsh towards things or people I talk about in these critique videos, please note that I'm committed to trying to help the creators out rather than antagonize them. Please do not go out of your way to attack or harass anybody who's discussed. This behavior will not be tolerated. Also, please note that my videos are intended for more mature audiences, so viewer discretion is advised. Here's also a list of content warnings which I highly advise you read before continuing. The video shall begin right now.
Wow, that's actually the first time I can say, listen to this boxy infidel scum.
Continues for another section which briefly delves into a controversy from 2022, one that has unfortunately come back to relevance thanks to this video. So, thanks for that.
What if I told you he defended his 17-year-old friend flirting with a 13-year-old? Yeah, Pac-Boy made a video calling out someone, and by the 1-minute mark, it becomes about grooming allegations being made toward his friends.
For those not in the know, there was a former member who found his way into circles Box and friends were in named Gwonkin, aka Dead by Grimlight or Dead Dark Dusk. After some very concerning behavior, he was kicked out of Boxes and all other related Discord servers. Around this time, Gwonkin would make grooming accusations against two people who were tied to Box in some way. The first accused was Albertronic, who was engaging in tickle RPs and DMs with Gwonkin, and the second one, named Cool Sweetie Josh, is claimed to have flirted with the victim. Just to make things abundantly clear, I'm not defending the actions of either two.
Bracket, I would believe you if you were not friends with the people you were talking about, but I can't really give you credit here if you're friends with the people you're talking about. I feel like that makes you biased in some sort of way, Bracket.
However, the way Gwonkin told the story falls close to gaslighting territory.
Neither party may have not known my age, but they probably should have guessed that from, like, my voice. And the fact that Albert guessed that I was, like, 13 at the time. Also, Ringo told me that I sounded 13.
Neither party was made aware that he was 12 to 13 at the time of both incidents. The case against Albert was more reasonable to accuse of grooming, even if he was only 16, but
okay, we have to talk about that note because I never explicitly claimed that they forced me to. I claim that they encouraged me to continue Emoji Marbles X Josh, which is insane if you ask me. I don't think anyone else has done that. Also, most of the people who were skeptical were actually in the servers where it happened. So, what?
I'll link additional info about this in the description, but the part Blocky focuses on is related to Josh's accusations.
Gwonkin then decided to join forces with Will G, and even go as far as accusing Josh of pedophilia, which he knows damn well he flirted with him first. Besides, you both are still minors, it's not even remotely pedophilia if nobody's an adult.
So if you're a friend of Pac-Man, he'll excuse whatever you do, even if it goes against his values. Like, remember all the videos he's made calling children pedophiles and never corrected. Yeah, calling those children below the age of 16 pedophiles is cool, but calling a 17-year-old flirting with a 13-year-old a groomer is just too far, man.
I will say, even if Gwonkin flirted first, that wouldn't excuse Josh doing such an act as well. That being said, it appears that Gwonkin had a one-sided crush on the person. Josh was not even aware he had a crush on him until he left the community either. Most interactions between the two took place in VCs rather than DMs, which has made it harder to verify.
My brother in Christ, you are friends with people who have been in those VCs. You whore! It's okay, I should probably not insult the person making this video, because they're one of the boxies that actually sees me as a victim. Oh, the fun. Shit.
It's even been alleged that Gwonkin faked his age as well, although that hasn't been confirmed in this case yet. We do know that he didn't disclose his age to Albert upon his request, and those interactions were closer to what has been described. I want to be charitable in the case that Josh actually did flirt back to the victim, something he claims didn't happen. If it did, that would be gross, even with Josh being unaware of their age. I just have a hard time believing that story, or the claims of grooming and pedophilia it's attached to. The worst case scenario I can imagine is that Josh unknowingly enabled Gwonkin's behavior. Wouldn't be great, but I don't sense any creepy intentions from him. Something that would be needed to make these bold claims of grooming. And to even claim possible pedophilia, Josh would have to know the victim's age during this, which he did.
I showed mannerisms of being 12 at that time. That shit was not a fucking accident. I remember it every day and night. Oh my fucking god.
And unlike the case with Henry, Josh wasn't posting material that would raise more suspicions. There is one other reason why I have doubts, and that's due to the figures involved in the narrative. Mentioned in the previous clip was a guy dubbed Will G, also known as Ray or Dylan's Rolling Network. Within the span of 4 years, he's held a grudge against Josh, which continues to this very.
Well, to be fair, if the guy I didn't like turned out to be kind of creepy, I would be on his ass too. Bitch.
Every day. He's harassed and stalked him, along with others in his.
Oh god, do I have to say it again? Oh, the irony. Apparently it's not stalking if you're the one doing it. Oh, fuck you.
Circle of friends, and spread lies about them through various accounts and rebrands. Important to note here that Gwonkin had to have known of his vendetta because Josh frequently mentioned the subject. From this moment, they both shared a common.
Bracket, I can understand not being straight, you bisexual lard lizard, but can you at least get your fucking Gwonkin lore straight? I sided with that man because he was the only person I knew who also had to deal with your boxy asses. I had no one else to go to. If it wasn't for him, I would have died, you whore. So anyways...
enemy. This ties into Gwonkin's own history of attacking people out of spite. For multiple comments and exposing videos, he would refer to some critics, including Box, by their real names, despite the fact most of them don't want that information publicized. That decision cannot be an accident.
But honestly, you brought that onto yourself. That shit was self-defense. You made fun of my suicide attempts, for God's sake. What else was I supposed to do, you fuck-ass bitches? Also, you were stalking me, so that's also one of my reasons, you whore.
It's only worsened by him actually doxing more sensitive info and sending shock content through alts, namely on Twitter.
No, Bracket, I was not ass lover. That was a crazy ex who decided to make an account.
He also insulted the grandparents of somebody who also spoke out against him, Kenster.
Oh, but you leave out the part where they harass my coming movie reviewer account. Fucking pathetic. They were out here shipping me with grown-ass men! No!
Worst of all, in some sort of bizarre karma fantasy which found its way onto one of his 2022 rants about the boxies, Gwonkin explicitly wished they'd be suicidal and groomed for the damage they did to him.
No, I wanted them to relive the shit I went through as a boxie, so they could understand my fucking situation more, you whore.
This isn't an allegation, this is a fact. And despite all this, those who stuck around with them, including Will G, never called out these harmful decisions.
Nigga, that is a straight up lie. Oh, God. I can understand not agreeing with my ways, sure, but you can't just lie about people. No! Nigga, stop!
While some points are correct about Gwonkin, such as doxing and making fun of someone's death, these boxes have done worse shit.
I won't assume why they were this enabling of his dangerous acts, but I think it's telling they aren't in this for the greater good. They aren't.
Don't act like the boxies were in it for the greater good, too. You heavily imply that, even though you're not saying it, fucker. God damn, even the nicest of boxies are hypocritical. Fuck.
Above making extreme claims that could potentially be slanderous, and this could be distorting his own story. They can't play
Like you haven't done that before to benefit your own fucking coup of people? Shut the fuck up.
The moralist game either, with how much atrocious shit Gonkin and associates are tied to. This is especially true when it comes to Will G, who spammed Josh Pornhub links when he was a minor, and
That is also a lie, as confirmed in this comment right here.
allegedly impersonated others online, both of which can have serious legal consequences. Now, some might argue I shouldn't be this harsh on Gonkin since he is a minor, being only 13 when most of the worst actions occurred in 2022. To that I say, you do realize you're essentially giving kids a get-out-of-jail-free card for whatever toxic behavior they do, right? And to be clear, I think it's generally good to be more forgiving in regards to
Bracket, I get what you're trying to say, but stalking people is not a good choice. I've seen your channels dedicated to people. I've seen everything that went on there. Don't act like this never happened.
outbursts and other acts like it if they are young. Obviously, they don't have the maturity or life experience to handle or express serious issues well, including ones they suffer from. This isn't a plea for them to be silent, but rather it's the reality of their emotions being easier to elevate, especially if they have a disability. However, much like how being neurodivergent isn't a crutch to be an asshole, being a minor doesn't absolve you of any consequences that come from your behavior, especially if it's on the severity of what Glunkin's been accused of. At best, the consequences are just less harsh than if he were an adult doing the same. Reminder, he wasn't just lashing out, he was a sadist threatening people. And here's a little truth bomb, learning from your mistakes is a very important part of growing up. Most forms of education require the student to take some form of criticism.
Yeah, but I don't think that usually involves the school board shipping me with adults or stalking me. Like, no, this logic is flawed.
Also, before anyone says it, I have no issue with minors calling out adults for rancid behavior, just as long as what they're getting involved in doesn't risk endangering themselves. It's not their business to be directly interacting with groomers and predators is what I'm saying, which Glunkin and a few allies who are also minors have done. That to me appropriates self-destructive behavior, which can lead them to getting more hurt. Some may call this victim blaming, but I say it's practicing self-respect. Go speak about your experiences as a victim, but the best course of action is to block the groomers for your own safety, not
Yeah, I can't exactly do that if they're using alt accounts to gather information on me, which is absolutely insane, mind you. Also, did we just, like, collectively forget about the Flying Canadian era? Like, they act like they didn't collect information during that era, which I specifically created that account so they wouldn't.
continue engaging. Ultimately, it ends up hurting your case as a victim even if your case is solid. And that really sucks, because there is at least one example Glunkin accused someone of grooming that I 100% believe, and that was with Mr. Banana Man. As he recounts it, Banana Man asked for nudes of this person when he was 9. That is horrific, no contest. This person was contacted for questioning, however, mostly since details were spotty and vague. Not a great idea in hindsight, but in their defense, it was just to provide verification.
Correct. I was actually 10 at the time, and I honestly don't know why they lied about the age. And Spacey platformed and defended this man multiple times, so, take that as you will.
It was also discovered that Glunkin did fake his age to them, although that isn't really important here. Either way, this is indefensible, and blaming the victim here makes you a massive jerk. I also don't blame Glunkin for being vague in this situation. Trauma is painful, especially having to explain it. The only truly concerning part is that he's expressed wanting to get back with the one who groomed him, but I'd rather not comment.
The only reason I said this is because I was really lonely at the time. And also, I was going through a depressive or manic episode. But now that's not a worry, since I have my boyfriend. Ha ha.
Comment on that. However vile his means of revenge are, I won't discredit him as a victim.
You're one of the first boxies to do that. Woohoo!
I'm focusing on this section really heavily because this is a topic Blocky further hammered in with a video he made against Josh directly. For the Letterboxd Critic's original Gwonkin video in 2022, she got him to provide a testimony about the previously mentioned allegations. This unfortunately had a moment which was later used as ammunition in the grooming case.
You see, after we dropped Gwonkin from our friend group, I got notified about Gwonkin's crush on me was unironic. At first, I didn't mind it since I thought they said ironic, but then Kenster told me in a VC that it was ironic. And I went back to Kathy's DM and I was like, oh god. Like, I wasn't aware that Gwonkin had an actual crush on me, but after hearing the news, I was creeped out. Actually creeped out. It's already concerning given the age gap between me and Gwonkin. Keep in mind, it was a half-decade gap.
Responding to this, Blocky makes the deceptive claim that Josh had no issue with the crush provided it was ironic.
Oh my god, Josh, you fucking idiot. You could have looked so innocent had you not said this.
I got notified about Gwonkin's crush on me was unironic.
At first, I didn't mind it since I thought they said ironic.
Ah yes, according to Josh, a kid flirting with you is okay as long as it's just a joke, bro. Josh can argue he wasn't told about the age, but he's out here admitting he didn't mind a child quote ironically flirting with him after finding out the age.
Something that really has to be said for situations like these, especially for drama tubers with elementary reading comprehension. Blocky, a person saying they didn't mind something does not mean it was an endorsement. Like yes, you can question the word choice and even his own thought process at the time. I also think him wording it that way is unfortunate. It's easy for incidents like these to be blown out of proportion and reach the worst conclusion. I need to make clear also that this started because Gwonkin having a crush on Josh was a recurring bit when they communicated. This was before the crush was discovered to be genuine, for the record.
And when me and some friends joked about how he has a crush on me, he denies having a crush on me to play along with the joke. And it was meant to be that way.
While this wasn't a joking manner, I don't necessarily blame Gwonkin for taking this the wrong way. Hearing that repeated back to you, even without sincere affection, can be hard to process as a joke. Josh may not necessarily be in the right, but even with this in mind, lumping him as a groomer still doesn't add up to me.
Just call him what he is, a bit weird and, predatory. I don't know if I could say that, oops.
That would need to hold more nefarious intentions, like a goal to actually get together with the person. Regardless of the type of grooming, that kind of manipulation is at least the minimum. I can't in good faith
Bracket, I'm sorry to burst your balls, but nowhere in this article does it mention needing to build, like, a romantic relationship with them. I'm sorry.
consider Josh to be a predator in this situation with this context, especially compared to the incident with Banana Man, which is objectively more rotten. Not to mention, the details of the crush came before Gwonkin's age was revealed, the crush info coming in April 2022, and his age a few weeks later that May. Plus, even if this were to genuinely be grooming, I don't think that excuses Gwonkin's destructive behavior. Again, I don't mean to victim blame. A kid is going to react irrationally when put under such stress. It's just the vengeful actions that followed which really sunk his case. A reality check that awful people can also be grooming victims. Their status as one doesn't make them right in every situation. It's why I don't like picking sides in every situation, or really any situation for that matter. It's a losing game half of the time. Whew.
Next clip.
I am saying this as a warning, especially for minors like Gwonkin. Please, for the love of God, do not depend on opportunists like Blocky for protection. So many jerks like him.
Who else am I gonna seek protection from? Better yet, why would I need protection from you if you aren't dangerous? For the love of God, it almost seems like you want me to stay silent about this. Oh, fuck. I really don't care how you spin it. This just seems gross.
Engage in this shit, putting their reputation above the victim who they claim to help. It's an
Yeah, no. This man has kept me anonymous and has asked me for my perspective multiple times, which you have barely, or better yet, not have done ever. You can't just assume my perspective and get away with it. What the actual fuck is wrong with you?
healthy abusive relationship and should be avoided at all costs. In the same ways that you should avoid contacting suspected preds to dunk on.
We also need to talk about this comment right here, because what the fuck? This man has never made me feel like a victim. unlike some people.
And you just go around claiming that I am? What the actual fuck? He's also one of the main reasons I could have escaped from you without dying. Ugh. Bracket, I love you in a, not a friend way, in an acquaintance way, but Jesus fucking Christ, stop trying to act like you know my perspective on this. Stop! Also, next clip.
Yet somehow, that's not the end of it. Very recently, Blocky tried finding their way onto a Discord server for one of Blocky's critics, Kinster. From late May to early June, multiple sussy members began joining, which are suspected to be ults of both Will G and Gwunkin. The former of
Okay, so a little explanation. These little schizos think I'm going around entering their servers, which, by the way, I'm not. I'm too busy being in a romantic relationship and goofing around in the fucking country ball community to do that. By the way, they have no proof of this being my alt whatsoever, which is insane if you ask me. This is like one of the a millionth time they did this, claiming random people are my alts. Oh my god.
which has a history of raiding. Following these entries, the server began a lockdown on invites, as this was a public server. However, after a unanimous result from a poll asking to change this, the server became private. Notably around May 29th, a conversation about Blocky and the others getting into the server occurred in the discussion chat. On June 5th, Blocky snuck his way into the server through his FryDude account, and a few days later, a YouTube short would surface uploaded by Will G. This was a screen recording of this exact conversation, which the video credits being done by Blocky. Its title claims that the packaged community is hiding stuff on this server, but when you actually read what's shown, that claim starts to make zero logical sense.
Okay, for context, there were channels dedicated to certain topics that boxies have, and they were basically just dedicated to gathering information and shit-talking the person. So, no good.
I want to single out this part, where Ken says Blocky accuses Box of being a pedophile supporter for subbing to that pappy person. This claim has been denied, but here's a rebuttal I have. Why else would you bring that detail up at all, other than to bolster your point of him being hypocritical? Blocky in his video self-admitted Pappy mostly does go animate lolicon, which I've already debunked. You don't just mention something that damning and connect that with someone else who follows them, without trying to accuse the follower of being complicit through guilt by association. Even if that's not what Blocky meant, it's a cherry pick that carries strong implications either way. And for someone who preaches about how awful false pedo claims are, the reason he gave so much shit for the Meigs rant, you'd think he'd be more cautious about this part, right? He should have been. Otherwise, he's being reckless and irresponsible. To no one's shock, Gwunkin responded to this short through a community post, which included a drawing he made depicting Ken as a vengeful lunatic.
I depicted him that way because flying Canadian.
Of note, he claims they misconstrued Blocky's wording to imply he said Box was a predator. Kind of.
To be fair, I probably should have said pedophile supporter, because that's what I meant. Oopsies.
Rich coming from the guy who tried to defame all his fans as predators after defending Josh and continues holding a grudge to this day.
Because he was weird to me, you fat.
But sure, nowhere in this dialogue does this assertion explicitly get made of Blocky calling him a pred. Although, some view supporting anyone suspected of pedophilia, which can include Pappy, is predatory in some way. So forgive us for being realistic about how this framing can easily be twisted. Plus, as just mentioned, Blocky didn't suggest anything in his video that would oppose this idea. Though that's likely because he spent so much energy on beating
I think that's like all the stuff I was involved in. So, anyways, bye-bye.